author, Théophile Gautier, wrote that the pyramids at Giza have been contemporaries of lost empires. They have seen civilizations that we have never known, understood languages that we try to guess through hieroglyphics, known customs that to us seem as fantastical as a dream. They have been there so long that even the stars have changed positions in the sky. Jordan Maxwell has things to tell you about this forgotten knowledge. Jordan Maxwell is a leading authority and researcher on ancient religions and secret societies, their symbols, emblems, fraternal brotherhoods, and how they relate to Egypt. Listen as he shows us the parallels between the ancient Egyptian symbols and their hidden meanings in modern religious beliefs. Please welcome the foremost expert on ancient religions and modern conspiracies, Jordan Maxwell.
Very kind of you, but I don't think I resemble that remark. First of all, I want to say thank you for being here with me, and second of all, I want to thank Gouda for allowing us to be in his home. And I would like to say that I'm not going to present myself as an authority on anything, though I appreciate the very kind, courteous remarks. I don't consider myself to be an authority. I feel far better by saying that I'm just an ordinary man in the pursuit of extraordinary knowledge. I'm fascinated by the things which are unseen. I'm fascinated by the spirit that pervades this country. And I feel that it's an idea whose time has come to look at the spirituality that's represented here in the Giza Plateau as opposed to the religion which is roughly based on it. So much of the work of the people of the book, Islam, Hebrew, and Christian, has been given to us, I believe, in a political setting rather than a true understanding of the spirituality that's again represented here on the Giza Plateau. I have been interested in the work of secret societies and fraternal orders ever since I can remember, because my family had, I think I mentioned this in the beginning when I opened the program, my mother had an uncle who worked in the Vatican Secretary of State's office. And every couple of years when he would come home as a child, I would sit and listen to the discussion with my father and his brothers and the men in the family discussing politics, religion, and commerce. And it became apparent to me that there was a system in operation throughout the world which decides and makes decisions for us. And there seems to have been some sort of a brotherhood throughout the world that decides what we will learn and what we won't. And esoteric information, for the most part, was considered to be information on a need-to-know basis, and we really didn't need to know. All we need to do is what we're told and think what we're supposed to and not cause any trouble. But I had two uncles growing up as a child who were federal judges. They were not mine, they were my mother's uncles. But they were federal judges. I had Catholic priests in the family. I had underworld in my family, Italian family. So I grew up listening to politics, as I said, religion, and big money. I am convinced that there's never been a religious movement in the world that wasn't a little political. There's never been a political movement that wasn't a little religious. I make a very big distinction between religion and spirituality. I believe that that which is represented in this country in its ancient past is totally different from anything that we relate to in our modern day world. In Christianity, we're given to understand that we're looking for a new millennium. I think the very concept of marking time is a comparatively new idea. I don't think the most ancients had a concept of the way we mark time on calendars. I think that was done perhaps politically for religious reasons, somehow or another metaphysically to control us so that we know when we're to do something and when not. But I don't think that the Spirit keeps track of time the way we think it does. And I am honored to have Akim with me today. It is an honor. And I feel I should be listening to him rather than him listening to me. But anyway, the whole subject of the millennium, we are told that very soon there's going to be a big celebration here on the Giza Plateau where all of the heads of state and all the most important people, by their own standards, are going to be here on the Giza Plateau to celebrate the new millennium. All of the most important elites are going to be here. That word elite is very interesting. It comes from an ancient Semitic word for God, El, which is actually goes back to an ancient, far more ancient word, Il, I-L, or I-L-E, or I-L-L-E-S, Ils, the Ilis. The Ilis or the Ils were the gods. And the gods were always to rule from on high. So this is where we get the word hill. They're up on the hill. As a matter of fact, in the Roman Empire, Caesar's seat of power for the Caesars of Rome was said to be up on Capitol Hill, or Capitoline Hill. And today we still have people in America who see themselves as gods and Caesars ruling from on Capitol Hill with their Senate. Nothing is more reprehensible to me than political power. I am totally turned off with the word authority. I don't like authority. It implies the word author. And immediately I question who wrote the law. I mean, actually, if you think about it, who said that the Queen of England is queen? What are you talking about when you discuss the divine right of kings? I suspect that it's a consensus reality, that enough people say something long enough and the group begins to believe it, as Hitler persuaded everyone to believe himself to be a god, and after a while the thing sets, and now we have the divine right of the Holy Family or the royal family. I have a particular aversion to the royal family of England. One has no alternative but to have a very ill feeling about the royal family of England when you know who they really are and what they're really doing. But that whole concept of the royal family comes from, Egypt. But the royal family, the concept, comes from this ancient land. And so much of Europe has taken from this country and from this land all of its precepts and concepts, its ideas of music and architecture and sciences, etc., and has rewoven it and given it back to us as the accomplishments of modern man. It only takes a cursory understanding of history to see where the magnificence of the Western world was traced all the way back to this ancient land. We don't have anything in the entire Western world that comes close to one of the pyramids. So as far as I'm concerned, this land is where it all began, and only until you understand this country and its history, are you going to appreciate where we are now in the span of time and where we're going? I made this point before, and I'll make it again, about the word understanding. It comes from the idea of standing under a foundation of a thing to appreciate it correctly. And I think that that's what we have to do with the whole subject of this ancient people in this ancient country, is to stand under the foundation to get understanding. And consequently, there is so much we need to know about the ancient world to appreciate how it fits into our lives today. This I leave to those who are better at it, like Stephen, my friend, who can explain these kind of things. But I have always been aware that there is an undercurrent of wisdom and knowledge which has been concealed from our eyes by our masters. And I am one, for sure, that has had enough of this kind of trickery. I want the truth to be known about this country. One scientist, I don't recall who it was, made an interesting comment that the universe is not stranger than you imagine. The universe is stranger than you can imagine. And the point being is that you haven't learned anything until you understand how the pyramids were built, the geometrics, the harmonics, the well-established mathematics. I don't see how anyone could possibly say that they are well informed about the modern day world and not realize the importance that this country has played in the development of Europe and the rest of the world. Incidentally, Europe is referred to as the Old World Order. Architecture, cuisine is referred to as Old World, Europe. If you recall that Europe was dominated for some 1600 years by the Vatican, dominated Europe. All of its politics and religion and commerce was dominated by the Vatican. And that Europe for some 1600 years has dominated the world. In point of fact, all today throughout the world, business is based on something called UCC, Uniform Commercial Code, which is maritime admiralty law. It is commercial law, the law of the high seas. I am not an expert on any of the subjects I will discuss with you, but I feel so very strongly you should understand some of the basics. That Uniform Commercial Code, which is as I said, the law of the high seas, the law of commerce, which guides all corporate law in the world, all corporate business law, is in point of fact based directly on Vatican canon law. So that in point of fact, the entire world of business is dominated by Rome. And most people are totally unaware of the profound significance of the symbols and emblems which are used on national coats of arms, on flags, heraldry, on the symbols and emblems used by governments, national governments, cities, counties. A classic example of important symbols, and incidentally symbols are very important. If you don't think so, put a swastika on your arm and walk into a synagogue and see the kind of response you get. Because symbols elicit and bring out emotional responses in people. But even more important, symbols have their own spiritual presence. They tell you things. A classic example, as I said, of symbols, well, in Washington, D.C., we have the Ben stone, or the Washington Monument, which is an Egyptian obelisk. On the back of the dollar bill, we have a pyramid with an all-seeing eye. Religion, which is roughly based on it. So much of the work of the people of the book, Islam, Hebrew, and Christian, has been given to us, I believe, in a political setting rather than a true understanding of the spirituality that's, again, represented here on the Giza Plateau. I have been interested in the work of secret societies and fraternal.
Author Théophile Gautier wrote that the pyramids at Giza have been contemporaries of lost empires. They have seen civilizations that we have never known, understood languages that we try to guess through hieroglyphics, known customs that to us seem as fantastical as a dream. They have been there so long that even the stars have changed positions in the sky. Jordan Maxwell has things to tell you about this forgotten knowledge. Jordan Maxwell is a leading authority and researcher on ancient
view, but I don't think I resemble that remark. First of all, I want to say thank you for being here with me. And second of all, I want to thank Gouda for allowing us to be in his home. And I would like to say that I'm not going to present myself as an authority on anything, though I appreciate the very kind, courteous remarks. I don't consider myself to be an authority. I feel far better by saying that I'm just an ordinary man in the pursuit of extraordinary knowledge. I'm fascinated by the things which are unseen. I'm fascinated by the spirit that pervades this country, and I feel that it's an idea whose time has come to look at the spirituality that's represented here in the Giza Plateau as opposed to the
religions and secret societies, their symbols, emblems, fraternal brotherhoods, and how they relate to Egypt. Listen as he shows us the parallels between the ancient Egyptian symbols and their hidden meanings in modern religious beliefs. Please welcome the foremost expert on ancient religions and modern conspiracies, Jordan Maxwell.
Very kind.